Hey guys, your old buddy Stevo here this morning. I thought I'd take a couple of minutes and show you how I was going to make this cheap SOB BVAC container. First off, what I've got down there on the bottom is just your standard cheapo container you can get from anywhere. I've got one with a solid top, and the only holes in that are actually in the handles. And I've just put some Gorilla Tape in there on the outside so that the vacuum will pull the tape to the box. So that seals that up. You will also notice that I've got one of these rubber reducing collars there with an elbow in it. That elbow is ultimately going to go through the top, and as I work through this, I'm going to stop, take a couple seconds of video or a minute or something, and take some pictures so that I've got a record of all this. Totally what I've got there, I bought 3 2-foot pieces of 2-inch PVC. I've got 4 connecting collars there. I bought 2 elbows, one of which you can see is already mounted right there. The other one is sitting just here. I bought a cap to go on the end of the I've got to build a diffuser to go inside this to that will reduce the pressure inside the box a little bit so that the bees don't wind up getting stuck onto that. And when I get to that, I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. I did buy this one reducer there with the screw end, and I'm not sure I'm going to need that now because I thought that's where I was going to go in through the box. And I actually, like I said, you can see I bought, there we go, where's my finger? I bought 2 of these rubber reducers. I didn't know whether I would need this one or not. And yeah, I bought a little more, bought about 125% of what I thought I was going to need. The hose that's there on top, this attachment here, this is just a little wand attachment, but you can see that mouth is pretty wide there. It's about I guess about 2.5 or 3 inches, I guess 2.5 wide and about 1.5 inches deep, and that's big enough to pull the bees in, and it also gives you a little bit of working room because I can hang on to the handle back here instead of trying to hang on to a piece of hose. That wand will actually go in the end of this hose, which is hosed from my existing vac system. That's an extension hose that I bought knowing that I really needed and wanted this tool here. I got on Craigslist. I love Craigslist. You guys should know that by now. If you don't know Craigslist, you need to learn Craigslist. That was a cast off from somebody put it on Craigslist. It is a rigid 4-gallon, I think it's a 5 horsepower shop vac. Brand new, they're about 90 bucks. The hose that I needed right here, that exact length, and the handy dandy bee sucking crevice tool there. The parts alone at the big box store were going to be almost $23. I paid $26 for the hose, the attachment, and the vacuum. And now that gives me a vacuum to use just for this bee stuff. These are the parts I've got. I've got the bin, and I've got the crevice tool there, which, you know, it's not going on the box, but I got that PVC stuff. And as I step through this, I'm going to take some pictures and maybe a couple seconds of video to show you what I'm doing. Let me get going here, and as I cut, like I said, as I cut through this, I'll go through the steps and show you what we're doing. Okay, so here we go. As you show this a little bit, all I've done here is take that rubber coupling, and I've stuck the hose in. The hose from the shop vac is going in here, and I ran the clamp down, and the other end I've got the 2-inch elbow in it. Did the same thing. When I got that done this morning, I fired up the vac, put my hand over it, and there's an absolute vacuum there. There's no leak. So I think what I've decided to do is to take this thing and mount it like this in the corner over here, and that way the hose, and of course that's not mounted right now, but you get the idea. The hose then will be trailed out across here. Okay, so I know the opening in this has got to be big enough for the pipe to go through, so I'm using the pipe as a gauge on the box to figure out the right size hole. I couldn't find a Sharpie anywhere, which would be the preferable tool for marking this. So I just reached over here and grabbed my my razor knife, and I just scratched this around that around the outside of that 1/2-inch pipe. And now all I got to do is put the appropriate head on my Dremel and cut that hole out. And so that's the next step. I figured out where I wanted it, marked it. Now we're going to cut it out. Okay, so I just took the Dremel, and basically all I've done is drill a hole. Let me zoom this in, let it sink up here a little bit. All I've done here, wait a minute, come on, focus. It's like me in grade school, it just can't focus. Anyway, all I did was take the Dremel and go around that thing and drill a bunch of holes in it all the way around. Now I can take my razor knife, skill knife, whatever, and just pop those little sections out, and we'll have a hole. I think my razor knife needs a new blade in it too. This looks like we got to go. There we go. So there we go. We now know that the PVC will go through that hole. Hang on, we'll be right back. And cut myself about an 1.5 inch piece of PVC out of that 2-inch pipe. And I just slid an elbow on either end of that. This is not glued. There's no adhesives or anything on this at all. So one of my things, I was concerned about loss of suction because of this lid. Like I said before, I was wondering if I didn't need to come inside here, this edge, and put some kind of weather stripping in there. So what I did is I put the lid on, just stuck it on there like that, because I figured let's do it without clamps and see what the maximum amount of suckage is going to be here. And this is not tightened down yet, so, and again, without tightening anything down, all I did was stick that on there. And you might want to turn your sound down just a little bit here, because I'm getting ready to turn on the shop vac. I was concerned about a loss of suction on this bucket unless I put weather stripping on it. See what you think. Did you get that? It's collapsing the bucket. It's collapsing the bucket because the suction right now is just going into the box. The next thing I need to do, I've got to build a diffuser of some kind out of some of that PVC pipe. It's going to plumb in here, and you can see I need a piece about this long. Probably going to waddle down to the drill press and drill these holes in this thing. So that's it for right now. Let me go drill some holes in this, and we'll come back and mount this, and maybe find an old clean sock. I don't think I want to throw a dirty sock on there. That would be embarrassing. Okay, we're back. So this is basically what I did. I took that PVC pipe down there, and I just drilled a bunch of holes in it. I didn't lay them out in a grid. I wasn't worried about laying them out in a grid. All I was trying to do was get a bunch of holes poked in this thing so that I can diffuse the air over a large surface area. Now, I'm still a little bit concerned about folks getting sucked up against that or trying to get through that. So somehow I wound up with just one of these left. And that is what we're going to use over the top of this thing, over the top of the diffuser, as a bee filter. this is what I've got, so this is what I'm going to use. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here to the end, and I'm just going to take some Gorilla Tape and tape that on there, because I'm not going to put enough pressure on it. It's going to be trying to pull it out from under the tape. I managed to poke these holes so they're just at the edge of where the sock will finish. So that's what I'm going to do. And that line there is where I'm going to cut it off so that it can go not on that elbow, on the one that's inside. Stick with me, we're fixing to do another test here as soon as I get that cut. I slid the sock over there. First thing I did, I went ahead and put the cap on, because as I was messing around with this, every time I took it from this position to that one, the sock tried falling off. So I put that cap on there. There's no glue there. As a matter of fact, with the nylon in there the way it is, it was a little bit tough to get that cap to go on, so I just took it and banged it on the floor a couple times. That worked nicely. So once I got that on there, you could see in that picture I had a couple of holes that were further up than I thought they were going to be. So I put some tape on over those holes, and then when I pulled the sock up and put a piece of tape all the way over it, then you know, it's effectively closed all of that off just fine. All right, so there you go. Cut that off right at the end of the black mark there, which is what I intended to do. Now all we got to do is plumb this into that elbow, put the lid back on the box, hook up the vacuum, and see what we get. So that's the next step. So here we are. We've got the flex coupling hooked up to the elbow, and we're ready to do a suck down test again. But as I suspected might happen, this hose inside, or that nozzle we built inside, is actually hanging down. So I'm going to have to put some zip ties or something on that. But that's a minor thing, I think. So here we go. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to turn on the vacuum and see if it pulls the lid down some. So we're going to turn the vac on in a second. Watch your sound. Give you a countdown. I should have given you a countdown the first time, but I didn't. So here we go. We're going to turn the shop vac on, do a suction test in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, it didn't look like it sucked it down as much as it did before, but it certainly is drawing a vacuum in there. That's not a bad thing. Okay, so all I did was poke 2 holes in the lid here. You know, one on that side of the diffuser and one on this side, and I ran the zip tie up through there, and that's not going anywhere. So the problem was, when I got over here, I realized that I had two places in the lid where the zip tie went through, on this end and this end, and I realized that's an 1.5 inches of vacuum leak there. So I took some of my handy dandy Gorilla Tape. One of the things I've got to be able to do is control the amount of suction right there. If it's too high, the bees are going to go zipping in there. They're going to bang off the back of the box in there, and it's going to crush them. And I don't want that. So I'm going to come up here in the lid, and I'm just going to cut, probably might even just cut a circle again. And I've got a couple of different pieces of plastic or whatever, and I'm going to make myself a sliding plate to go on there, so that I can control how much vacuum is in the box. Last task is to cut a hole up here for that airway. This is not going to be symmetrical in any way, shape, or form, I can guarantee you that. Now the question is, how do I get that out of there? Okay, so here we go. I get the hole cut out. I got a couple of pieces of scrap screen left over from building my screen tops and bottoms. I'm going to cut it off. right across there somewhere. And I'm just going to put it down with some Gorilla Tape. I think I'm going to use this for my baffle. I'm just going to take a piece of tape, tape it down over that, and then I'll move it accordingly to let in more or less air.